When the words coming out of your mouth are true and you believe what you're saying, that's authenticity. Hey, thanks for tuning into my show. I'm the co-owner of Suprahuman, and we're all about helping you become your best self. We've helped thousands of people physically transform. If you want to take the mystery of how to achieve your best body, get a meal plan completely customized to your needs for free. Go to superhumandiet.com, that's S-U-P-R-A, humandiet.com, and we'll deliver the plan directly to your inbox. Hey. I think last episode I was talking about not wearing any eyeshadow, which was unusual for me. And this episode, in case you're following along, I am wearing eyeshadow again. So how funny that we always return to our old ways. And so me mentioning my eyeshadow, there's a point to this, I promise you, which is like you get to one level of winning, you settle in, then you set a new goal, right? You set a new goal, and then it pushes you outside of your comfort zone. And now you're required all of a sudden to level up again. Don't you love when that happens, by the way? And that means that whatever got you here today is not going to get you to where you want to go tomorrow and the next day and the next year and 5 years from now. And we've all heard that saying, right? The issue is that most people want to get to the next level, yet, see, I'm not going to say what most people say when you're listening to a lot of people discuss mindset, or they're shouting about like, you want to go to the next level, but you're just not willing to do what it takes. But why aren't you willing? Are you sure that you're not willing, or do you just not have enough clarity? Has it not been broken down? Can we take it beyond that statement? So the issue is, going back, most people, including myself, because anytime you get to one level of winning, and if you're the type of person who enjoys growth, who's of growth mindset, who has goals in their life, and by the way, human beings are designed to accelerate. Human beings are designed to have desires. Human beings are designed to progress in life. So it's natural to want. It's natural to want more, and it's natural to want to become more. We should all be wanting those things, and if we don't want them, then I would question our humanity. And in mainstream, we are taught to settle. We are taught to be happy with what we have. And I agree that we should be grateful for all the things that we have now. We should be pursuing our future selves with a grateful heart. Why? Because if you can't be happy in this moment, whatever you think you're going to get that's going to make you happy next year isn't going to work, right? So being grateful is absolutely necessary. At the same time, nothing wrong with desiring more. It's part of our humanity. So the issue is most of us want to get to the next level. Yet we continue to operate in our current identity. And now do you see how that sounds so different than me saying something like, the issue is most people want to go to the next level, yet they're not willing to do what it takes. That's also a true statement, but what do we mean by they're not willing to do what it takes? Willingness means they don't have desire. That's what that statement means. So if you don't have a willingness to do what it takes, it simply means that you don't have the desire to do what you say you want to do. And if you're telling me, no, Nineveh, I have the desire, like I really want this, then perhaps you haven't really made the decision. And the decision is based on identity. A decision is action-oriented. And so to make a decision means that you need to be acting in accordance, which I've talked about before, in accordance with the identity that you want to have. But I want to talk about it a little bit differently today, because I was having a conversation with a member of our team and our company at Superhuman. And I said, here you are, and you say you want to be at this level in leadership or management. But in order for you to ascend to that level of leadership or management, you actually have to behave differently. You can't do the things that you used to be doing and then expect yourself to be at a different level of leadership or management, because you're doing the same tasks. And if you're doing the same tasks that you were doing 5-6 months ago, then you aren't growing. So same thing when it comes to the identity, and when we talk about identity-based behaviors, whether that's we're all executing on tasks. So when I broke it down in that way to this particular colleague, teammate, employee of ours, and I said, are you doing the same tasks? Should you be doing that task if the goal is to grow over here? Because if your goal is to grow and become this type of leader who's capable of handling this type of work, then you'll have to do those type of tasks. And now the question becomes, what type of tasks will I need to be doing instead? And that's where people get tripped up. So yeah, a lot of people want it, and it's not because they're not willing to do it. There's a lot of people that have the willingness, they have the desire, they are high performers, but they're getting stuck in the mechanics. They're not understanding the mechanics of going from here to there. And that's what I'm going to break down for you today. And when we think about it, we may think about, hey, I really want to become this new version of myself. The issue isn't the desire. The issue isn't the decision. The issue isn't the want. The issue is that most of us haven't sat down long enough to construct who our new self is. So think about that. Have you actually sat down to ask yourself, what is the new self? What is even that? What does that even mean? You could give yourself a new title, but what does that new title mean? Like when I was given the title of vice president at a former company that I used to work at, I'm like, cool, I have the title now. What does that mean? What does it mean to have the identity of a vice president in a corporation? What does that mean? See, most of us aren't curious enough to ask that question. What does a vice president do? What does a vice president behave like? And so I started literally Googling this. I'm like, I actually have no clue what a vice president of marketing does. I mean, I've got an idea, but I may want to gain a little more clarity about this. So the easiest thing for me to do was to define this new role by doing a little research on the internet. Okay, so that's what the identity of a vice president has to know how to do the following things. Well, gosh, I don't know how to do half those things. So what do I need to do in order to learn to do those things? And then I listed those out. And so my point is we may think about it being the new self. We may even talk about it being the new self, but we haven't defined the behaviors and the decisions required in order to have your 2.0 version of yourself. So if I talk about, okay, I got the VP title, I've thought about it, I talked about it, now I got it. Now I better define what that even means. But then I had to go a step further and define the behaviors of a vice president of marketing. And then I had to define the decisions required of a vice president of marketing at each revenue level, by the way. It changed at each level of winning and each level of going to the next level. It required me to redefine the behaviors and decisions again and again and again. So it was a constant leveling up. And the issue is people don't give this enough thought. And I see this happen all the time with people saying they want a sexy and sculpted body. Cool, I want it too. I want to have a six-pack. But are you willing to do the behaviors required to get the six-pack, if that's what you want. Or let's just say sexy and sculpted body. Well, what does it mean to you individually to have a sexy and sculpted body? Have you defined it for yourself? Have you visualized it for yourself? Or are you just saying that you want that? You see, the brain works off imagery. It needs direction, and you're just not giving it enough direction. If you give it some clarity, the how becomes a little bit easier. And so this first part is really crucial. And if you're listening to the show, and I gave that example of sexy and sculpted body for a reason, because I know I have a lot of female listeners, and if you're listening to this show, you know there are several of my ads that pop up inviting you to get the free meal plan or the free workout for a week. And you listen to this show over and over again, and then you come into my DM on Instagram, which, by the way, I got a new Instagram page. That is going to be reserved for another episode as to why I did that. My new Instagram, I want you to completely delete my old Instagram. I've started a new Instagram page. It's going to be at I am Nineveh Madsen. I tried to grab at I am Nineveh since that's the name of the show. That's what I really wanted. I wanted it to match the branding. But there is an I am Nineveh already out there. And I went to that page, I am Nineveh, and definitely an Assyrian girl, by the way. And she's got a farm and a ranch. And I'm like, love it. I want that too. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I am Nineveh Madsen, it is. And so I am starting over. And one of the reasons is I really want to zero in and help females who want to win in their body and their business. And yes, you can have both. And so this show is going to focus a lot on mindset. And why is it that we say we want what we want, but we don't get it? And like dissecting all of it at every level when it comes to our mindset, because it all begins and ends in the mind. And it's crazy to think how much mindset impacts the results that show up in our life. So back to this discussion about you come into my DMs on my Instagram, which is now at I am Nineveh Madsen. And you say, yes, 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 Nineveh, send me the thing. Yes, I've got desire to change. Yes, I've got desire to have the thing that you say that I can have. And I've been thinking about it for a while, and I believe you. Like you're not just coming up in the DM and saying, please send me more information. If you haven't given this some thought, if you haven't been daydreaming about it, and if you haven't wanted it for a long time, you've clearly wanted it, and you're clearly telling me, I want to change. But the question is, why haven't you? You haven't taken action because you haven't fallen in love with who your new self is. And you haven't fallen in love with who this new self is because you haven't actually defined it. You haven't actually given it much thought, to be quite frank. And let's just say that you have set the goals. Let's say you have set some goals. We all set goals, right? Although a lot of us set the same goals over and over again. And if you are setting the same goals over and over again, year after year, you have not changed. And that's the whole hard, cold truth. You got to wake up and have some conscious awareness and say, I said that last year. Is it because I was overshooting, which can sometimes be the case? Or is it because I haven't taken any action towards it at all? Or maybe I did and then I stopped. And then have that realistic conversation with yourself. Reality check. Be your best friend by calling yourself out. Like, don't wait for me to call you out. Don't wait for me to call you up. Call yourself out. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to be your best friend in that way. You know what kind of best friend I want in my life? I want a best friend who says, level up, girl. It's time to level up. Why do you hold yourself back? I want those kind of girlfriends. I don't want the kind of girlfriends who are like, oh, you're just great. Yes, thank you. And then how can we push each other to become better? Physical fitness is good for mental fitness. That's why we launched our Daily Trainer app. For less than $1 a day, you get a personal trainer in your pocket. For a limited time, go to superhumanapp.com. That's SUPRA humanapp.com and use my code FREE at checkout to try your first week at no charge. And better and better and better, right? while still having compassion for ourselves in the process. That's different, having compassion for yourself in the process, meaning that you're not going to get it perfect every time. But again, I go back to saying that you haven't fallen in love with who your new self is because you haven't clearly defined it. And let's just say that you've set some new goals. What is it? You aren't making decisions based on the new self or the new identity. You aren't operating out of that new frame of who the new you is. Now, you know what the old you would do, because the old you is sitting here right now. The old me is right here, right now. And this me will continue to show up unless daily, and I practice this, say, but what would the girl, what would the Nineveh, what would the woman 5 years from now that I'm saying I want to be and want to become, what would she do? She would show up. She would show up to the workout even if she doesn't feel like it. And I didn't feel like, by the way, showing up to today's workout is just like, it's going to be that time of the month. I'm feeling a little moody. And then I was like, why? When did I decide to be moody around that time? Why can't I just make the decision to not be moody around that time? I think I can. Would my new self continue to have that thought, that belief, and then a change in behavior as a result? Let's try a new way of thinking. And so that's the point. The new identity has a new way of thinking, and the new way of thinking is what has to drive the decisions, and the decisions drive the behavior. So another story that I have, and this goes back to my old days of when I had decided to become a broadcaster, which was many, many moons ago, feels like a lifetime ago, quite frankly. But it's a great example of what I mean when I say identity-based behaviors. And so I remember not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I need some direction. I need an identity to grasp onto. We all need identities. It's very important that we have an identity. Very important that we have a future self that we're working towards. Because that's what makes us feel alive. That's what keeps us going. A lot of us think like, it would just be great to retire and sit around. No, trust me, that's not what you want. You want to be able to have the freedom to relax, take breaks, and go on vacations, but just to stop completely, stop the pursuit. Well, then what do you have to look forward to? You've got to reconstruct that identity at every level. And you'll know that you'll need to reconstruct it when you get comfortable. And you get kind of tired of where you're at. And for me, that happens every decade or so. And when it comes to our house, it happens like every couple years. And literally, we've all almost been living in our same house for 3 years now. And I'm itching. I am itching for the next level. I can't help it. And I'm like, what is going on? I need to experience and feel the change. And that's just how I was born and I was built. And I think we're all born and built that way, although we are all pursuing different identities and different things, right? So whatever identity you're pursuing you're free to pursue. So back in the day, back in the broadcast days, when I wanted to become a broadcaster, I didn't always know I wanted to be a broadcaster. And I got some direction on this new identity, and I caught the vision. And the way I was able to catch the vision was a couple of things, okay? So if I wanted to become a broadcaster, and at that time I'm like, I'm going to pursue becoming a broadcaster, what did I need to do first? I needed to see myself as that person. So how do you see yourself as that person? First you have to really picture it. And you have to use your imagination. And a lot of times what helps is somebody telling you that they see you as that person. And that's what happened to me. A mentor told me, have you ever considered working in broadcast? No, I never considered it. Well, you should, because I see that in you. Wow. I mean, nothing is more powerful than someone believing and seeing something in you that you don't see in yourself yet. And we all need those people in our lives. And I hope that you are that for someone. And my hope is that I am that for someone. I do my best to be that person for my team at our company, for example. My husband does his best to be that person for me. He sees things in me that I don't see for myself. I'm like, how do you see that? I don't see that. But it's great that he sees that, because he sees that, he almost expects that. And that was the same with the mentor who said, I see something in you. I see a broadcaster. Could I see that identity for myself? And so one of the things that helped was seeing myself as that person. And you can do that by picturing it and visualizing it and using your imagination. And then writing it out. I recall at the time, before I understood anything about doing self-image work, that I was going to make a wish. And I came across this wish recently when my daughter found this turquoise triangle glass box that my mom had actually sent me because she had it at her house. And she opened it up. She goes, what's inside here? And I took it out, and there was a tiny glass guitar figurine, and there was a tiny piece of paper. And it was from, I want to say it was from 2003. So we're talking 20 years ago. And it said, I want to be known as the best reporter that ever lived. I'm not sure that wish has come true, but hey, I set an intention. So it was enough to write that down. And that was at the time that I was pursuing this identity of broadcaster. So if I go back and I track and I retrace my steps, what I was doing was imagining myself as this person, writing it out, and then I defined the behaviors required. And when I say define the behaviors required, that now becomes your plan of action that moves you towards your future self. And so every day what you do is you wake up, and every day you take action, and you need to make a practice out of it. Is this what my future self would do? And so I had what I call an RX, a prescriptive. What would a reporter do? What would a news anchor do? I need to act like that person. So I did an internship. And every week, every day, y'all, pretended to be a reporter. I would take my camera and I would hit record and I would get the scripts from the television news station that I was an intern at. They were the old scripts from the night before, from the newscast from the night before. And I would take them home and I would get outside with my makeup and my hair done all weird and whatever, right? And I would practice and I would pretend. I would read a report and I would pretend to be a reporter. I would act as if. And so that's what I call an identity-based behavior. An identity-based behavior is acting like the person until you become it. Act it until you become it. I'm not saying fake it till you make it, because that saying it's an interesting saying, don't you think? Fake it till you make it. Well, I'm not faking anything. I'm not faking anything when I'm showing up to this podcast. I'm doing it. What am I faking? I'm doing an identity-based behavior. This behavior is based on an identity that I want 5 years from now. The result hasn't shown up yet, but I'm going to keep doing it until it does show up, because I know if I act out the part and I do the identity-based behaviors that I've defined that are required of this new self-image, then I will get there with time. Now, I can't control what we call the law of gestation. I think I should use another episode for that. A lot of us just don't have the patience. It takes a lot more than we realize to get to the person that we want to become. So we should enjoy the journey just a little bit more and make fun of this. Wow, if I could be anyone and anything, and I've done this before, that means I could do it again. Now I could be even more precise. Once you become conscious of what the process is like, back then in my broadcast, I didn't know what I was doing. I was intuitively and naturally doing it. We're all born with the intuition and the knowing of how to get what we want, because that we were born to get what we want out of life. Literally, that is our birthright. But what if you actually learned how to get what you want by acting it out and by doing everything I'm talking about in this podcast? Then I think you could get it much faster. Then I could think you could do it with more precision and not land somewhere accidentally that you didn't plan on landing. So defining that future self is really key. Is this what my future self would do? Is this what my future self would eat? Is this what my future self would wear? Is this what my future self would read? Is this what my future self would waste their time with? Is this what my future self would say? Is this what my future self would act like? And that becomes your scoring mechanism. Answer those questions. That will tell you whether you are practicing identity-based behaviors. 25 minutes in, I always say when I walk into these episodes, there is no way I'm going to talk for half an hour. There's no way. And I said, you know what? I've got to actually shrink the amount of script that I bring to the table. And usually I'll come with like 4, 5, 6 pages. I'm like, today it's just a couple pages of notes and I'll just look at them. And there's no way. This will be a 15-minute episode. Here we are. I get the gift of gab. I get the gift of gab because I practiced gabbing so much. So it's just a part of my identity now. And that's the beautiful thing about identity. Once you've acquired a certain identity and an identity-based behavior, you can choose whether you want to keep it or not, right? I'm like, this identity-based behavior in terms of broadcasting is a great asset. I'm going to pull it into my future self because I'm going to need that. I'll keep that. But I won't keep that part and that part or that part. So, like I just said, those questions that you need to ask yourself, is this what my future self would eat if you've got a body goal? Is this what my future self would wear if there's a certain way that you want to look and show up as in terms of your future self? Is this what my future self would read? Does she spend time on garbage social media, or does she spend time consuming books that are going to better herself? Is this what my future self would waste their time with? This conversation, this person, this thought, this emotion? Because I can make a decision to hold the thought captive that I don't want to have and just reject it and not entertain it and not converse with it and not give it my focus. And I can move on. Would I waste my time with that? Would I waste my time with that person that's gossiping? How much time am I willing to waste, if any at all? Would your future self waste an ounce, a minute with that thing or that person that isn't getting you any closer to the person that you want to become? Is that what my future self would say? Is that what I would act like? And it's okay if you fall short. I don't really like the way I acted. What am I going to do differently next time? And that becomes your scoring mechanism, like I said. Answer those questions every day. That'll tell you whether you are practicing your identity-based behaviors. And the last tip is, if you're confused about what the identity-based behaviors should be, you're like, that's great, Nineveh, but I don't really know what that future self would act like or what an identity-based behavior would be with a person that I say I want to become or the goals that I have in mind. If you're confused about what the identity-based behavior should be, the best thing you can do is get around the people you want to become like. Get around those people. You want to be a fit person? Go to the gym. Inject and infuse and surround yourself with that environment. You will see fit people around you. And when you start to see that every day, you'll be really uncomfortable with your current identity if it's not a fit person. So you're either going to run out of that gym because it makes you so uncomfortable, or you're going to start getting curious about how they're behaving and you're going to start acting like them. Little by little, day by day, and then you're going to see the changes in yourself. Want to be a fit person? Hang out with fit people, right? Want to be a rich person? Go hang out with someone who's figured out finances, right? When I say rich, everybody's got a different definition of rich, but, like financially free. Go hang out with someone who's figured out finances. It's okay that you don't know. The first step is just admitting, like, I don't know what I don't know, and I've got to remove my ego and hang around people who've been there, done that, right? Want to be an entrepreneur? Want to get better at business? Go hang around people who have been there, done that. It's simple. You want to inject yourself into the environment and do the very things that those people are doing and that have the identity that you want. And chances are you're going to have to invest in yourself. And you're going to have to believe that you're worthy of it and that you're worth it. All right, ladies and men listening, I hope this show was worth it to you. If you're loving it, liking it, please leave me a review and come say hello to me on my new Instagram account at I am Nineveh Madsen. Thanks as always for listening.